Today is November 9th in Toronto, speaking to Gil Scott-Heron. So, how you been feeling?
I've been feeling all right, man. Got up a little earlier than I had planned to today after the shows last night and all the excitement, but there's a good response there. Really enjoyed myself. I think that the folks who came out to see the show enjoyed themselves, and that's what we were here for, so mission accomplished.
Do you think it'll be another 8 years before you came up here?
Well, I hope not. I didn't think it was going to be 8 years last time I was up here before I got back again. As a matter of fact, I have been to Montreal a couple of times in the interim, and to Vancouver. Just hadn't had an opportunity to come here, and hopefully you get invited again based on the sort of response you get. So if that's any indication, we'll probably get invited back again before too long.
Very soon. The Rerun single is this the first time you've been produced by someone else since the Bob Thiel days? Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, more or less.
How did that come about? Was that a compromise between you and the record company, or was that something you wanted to do?
No, well, that was something I've known Bill and those guys for quite a while, and initially they wanted to do two other songs, one called "Beam Me Up" and one called "Frankenstein." And when they heard the rerun, they insisted that they wanted to do that it sounded, because we cut roughs on all the stuff and sent it in, and I thought it might be fun, because I'd heard the stuff that they'd done with Herbie, and I'd heard some of the stuff they'd done with Nona Hendrix, and it sounded like a good time. So it was just one cut. I said, what the hell, let's go for it. And it worked out all right.
At one time I had thought about, I don't know if I even spoke to you about this, but like taking your lyrics and putting them to somebody like Rick James and their music. That's something what I had in mind in terms of that so-called popular music with what material is doing.
Well, the rhythm that we used on the rough was the same. The melody was the same. The spacing was the same. The difference was the sound effects and stuff. And I had already done things like that when we did 1980 and Angel Dust, where we had the flute solo that sounded like a guitar. I mean, like electronics, and there was a synthesizer solo on Johannesburg. I mean, what the hell? Like, I had never gotten into, like all the reverb and the different shit like that, but I mean, it was always available. It was just something I never bothered to deal with. So it was their production. That's how they heard it. It didn't sound. It didn't really sound that far from what I had done with it when I made the demo.
Well, you've done stuff like Shut 'Em Down, which is, popular. When I say popular, I'm talking about the music that people could dance to, like Shut 'Em Down, and people could dance to the bottle, though.
I don't think I've ever made a song people couldn't dance to if they knew to dance. You see, I'm saying I don't think a person can dance who can only dance to one rhythm or one song. When I think about dancing, I think about all kinds of music, all kinds of rhythms, all kinds of movements. And I've never really been limited myself based on somebody else's inability to dance or inability to find the one with a goddamn bloodhound.
The next album, are you preparing it now, or that's something you're not thinking about at the moment?
I've got some material. I'll probably go in December, January.
Will it be your production, or will you be co-producing, or will someone else be producing you, or do you know?
I haven't really even given it any thought. I'll probably do it myself if I want to.
You think you're going to get on Reagan again?
I don't know. I haven't gotten anything planned to about Reagan. Well, what I feel about Reagan and what I think about his politics, that's pretty much been stated. If there's something else that I decide I needed to add, or something else that I needed to point out, I would, But I don't sit down and say, let me see who I can get, or anything like that. It's just when ideas occur to me about circumstances and subjects, I write the tune. And nothing that Reagan has done lately supersedes Rerun. And I mean, even his getting elected doesn't supersede it, because that thing was, we don't need no rerun. We didn't need to have it. We don't need it now that we got it. So I'm saying it's like forewarned is forearmed. It's like a point well made is a point well made. So I think that the point was made. And if something else occurs to me, I'll do it. And if it doesn't, I'll stand on that.
The whole situation with you dealing with nuclear power and those songs like that, like when I remember when you did We Almost Lost Detroit, a lot of people assumed that you were talking about a race riot, but you're talking about that nuclear energy situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you did like that album from South Africa to South Carolina, I mean, that was the South Carolina part was dealing with a nuclear power plant as opposed to black people. I mean, you dealt with South Africa. I mean, the liberation of South Africa, and you tied it in with nuclear energy, the whole thing. And it seems like you've always been like ahead of your time. And from a record sales point of view,
doesn't help.
Yeah. Because Soweto happened a year after, and then they blew up 3 Mile Island, or almost blew up 3 Mile Island, after you did all those songs, and then, that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, what you're trying to do is to say something before they do it. If you can head it off. And see, I feel as though there's something wrong with capitalizing on other people's misfortune. Like, I would never write a song like that after it happened. Then it's self-evident what the consequences are. When you can say something in advance about it, like perhaps you can warn, or perhaps you can alert, or perhaps you can make people more aware of the consequences or the possibilities of certain things that they haven't really considered or thought about. That's the idea behind doing songs like that before they happen. And if it's not commercially the best time for it, that's unfortunate. Because when I sit down to write an idea, I don't say, well, let me see what I can write now that will be profitable. I sit down to write a song because it's an idea that I have, and I think it's a good idea.
Would you say you've been better received in Europe than you have in America by the general population?
No. I think that our appeal is generally focused on the folks who are exposed to our music. It's generally people who listen to jazz stations or avant-garde stations or college stations or underground stations, wherever. So those are the kinds of people that we see, and those are the kinds of people who seem to appreciate us, both in the States and abroad.
You've been to the Caribbean, but you've never been to Africa yet.
Right.
Do you have any plans to go to Africa, Nigeria in particular?
If we get the opportunity and get invited, we'll go.
Last night you were presenting an award about South Africa, and I know you pledged not to go to that part of the world. Do you have any thoughts on doing any more music around South Africa? Another song, perhaps? I may well. Once again, a point well made is a point well made. I don't particularly like to wear out my welcome with any particular idea. I think that if after Da Vinci did the Mona Lisa, came back and did the Mona Lucy, it would have diminished it. It would have taken away from the first one. Like to do something else like it. I pretty much rely on inspiration and a focus that approaches an idea from a different angle. Like, as far as I was concerned, B-Movie and Rerun, that was just such a thing. We Almost Lost Detroit and Shut Them Down. They were about the same thing, but they were coming from a different angle, and they were raising different points. And that's pretty much what I have in mind when I sit down to do something. If I've done it before, then I should have done it right. Or if I did it right before, let me not diminish the effect of the first one by trying to do something else. Mm-hmm. Like I said, now that there's an ongoing active liberation struggle in South Africa, I think it would be
in a sense, capitalizing on the turmoil of the country, and that's not really my intent. To be expressed, that needs to be exposed, and that's why we did your.
And our station, CKLN, has presented your film Black Wax twice in this town. And what's the next thing you're gonna do with on celluloid?
Well, we did Cool Running, the film on Sunsplash. That didn't get the international exposure that they were trying to get for it. Oh, I think that's broken. There you go. We've been offered an opportunity to do some music and serve as a narrator for a film on violence in the South Bronx. And the gangs and the street violence that they have there, and that may be the next thing that I start to do. They're talking about starting work on it at the end of this year, the beginning of next year. And if that idea develops, then that'll probably be the next thing that I do on film.
What's your thoughts on video? When there's going to put some money up so you can do one? Because I'm sure you could probably come up with something that would be kind of different.
I don't know. I haven't discussed that with them. You know, like I did Black Wax. I don't think anybody from Alistair saw that.
Probably not.
You know, so
no.
So, those kinds of things are always available. People are always talking about doing videos. Do I want to do a video? Do I want to do a video? If the opportunity presents itself, the time is right and the circumstances are right, I will do it like we did Black Wax. Black Wax started out to be 50 minutes, then it was 58 minutes, then it was 70 minutes, then it was 75 minutes. It ended up being about, they had about 110 minutes. They ended up, I think they released 80 minutes or something like that. But just to do it for the hell of it, I wouldn't do it. You know, I thought Black Wax was a unique look at something that needed to be looked at. It was around the song Washington, D.C., and it was about where I live and what I see as opposed to what people see in general when they look at that situation. And I thought it was worthwhile just to do it, to be on MTV. To hell with MTV.
You ever go back? How are you received in Tennessee when you go back? Do you ever play your home?
I've never played in Jackson. No, I never have. I left so long ago that I'm sure that there aren't a whole lot of people who I grew up with who are still there. In Tennessee in general, Knoxville, Chattanooga, Nashville, Memphis, we've been very well received. I don't think it's necessarily because people know I'm from Jackson and it's Homeboy Week or something like that, but just because our music is rooted in the blues, and so is theirs even now. So they have an appreciation of what we do.
See, 1985, if we look at what's happening in 84, do you feel that like so-called protest songs are going to become in vogue because the situation is going to become intolerable, or record companies are going to allow people to protest again?
I don't know if record companies ever stop people from protesting, as near as I know.
I understand that you've had some difficulties. And other people have had difficulties.
I've had some difficulties getting it on the radio, but not on the vinyl.
You know what I mean? But you haven't had difficulties on the vinyl because, I mean, you've been in more or less total control of your career almost from the beginning.
Well, point well made.
But I'm saying...
That's why.
If Prince came to Warner Brothers in '78 and said he wanted to do like What's Going On, and he's a 17-year-old kid, I don't think they would let him do that. I think they would want him to to do what he did. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Well, I'm not really that familiar with Prince's stuff. You know, what does he do?
I just use him as an example. No, I don't even want to.
Well, I mean, what I mean is that, like, for me to do opera, you know, I might give it a shot, but I wouldn't do it well. So other people might want to do protest music and don't do it well. They either aren't good enough writers, they aren't good enough singers, they aren't good enough producers, and they aren't gifted in that area. So just to do it because somebody else did it has never really had any influence on me, and I don't know if in general that kind of thing would motivate anybody else. Because I mean, if what I do and the sort of stuff that I was going to do would inspire people to do it, then it would have already.
Like this Beam Me Up, is that going to be on the next album?
Yeah.
That's a unique idea in terms of what you were talking about. Because I've always thought that if there was life on other planets,
they wouldn't think this was life here.
I think that. Well, I happen to believe. Who am I, or who are we to say that we're the heaviest thing in the universe?
Oh, I hope nobody has said that.
I don't think nobody. There are some people that I think feel that way.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, it's just another idea, man. I mean, like I have a song about Frankenstein that goes into great detail to explain that Frankenstein was not the monster's name. So I'm saying that I don't ever try to. I really rarely think of my music in terms of anybody else's, because I rarely hear anything else like it. And the consequences of other people's music as compared to mine, I don't compare it because there's no comparison. Either because we're talking about different things, we're doing it a different way, or because I just consider myself parallel to the music business, apart from it, but not necessarily a part of it.
Will you see yourself in the tradition of a Robeson or a Griot, or a combination of those two?
I think that all those sorts of influences have played a great part in what I do. But I think that had there been no Robeson, there could be no Gil Scott-Heron.
The whole question of like King's birthday, do you feel that there will come a time when we're going to have a Malcolm's birthday, or you think that's out?
I don't necessarily believe that Malcolm received the sort of worldwide recognition that Martin Luther King did, and the fact that he was a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and the fact that he was recognized internationally in the manner of a Gandhi. I think that had a lot to do with impressing people with the fact that he needed to have that sort of recognition. I don't necessarily believe that Malcolm had that kind of impact worldwide or nationally.
Among oppressed people, couldn't you say that though?
Well, I'm saying that I still think the oppressed people should take his day and make it a holiday for themselves. But I'm saying as far as a national holiday is concerned, I don't know if he had that kind of impact on the national consciousness. I celebrate his birthday, but I don't know if America in general would ever. I doubt if America in general would ever celebrate it.
Would you support a move to make his birthday a national holiday? Because I think Preston Wilcox in Harlem has that on his plate. He wants to do that.
Well, I would not support it, but I'd have to come to some understanding as to what he. It's hard to say. I think Robeson had a tremendous impact on black people. Martin Delaney did. David Walker did. Nat Turner did. That in that realm, all of them could have all of their birthdays are important to me because I'm glad they were born and I'm glad they did the things that they did. But I'm saying in terms of a national holiday, you're talking about a holiday for everybody, and I don't think they had that kind of influence on everybody.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or you want to get out of here?
No, I'm just sitting here, man.
I'd like to ask a couple of things.
Sure, go ahead.
You mentioned Gandhi in passing. Is there an Eastern sense in some of the things that you feel in your music? I know there's like an incredible amount of passion in songs like Winter in America, and profound throughout.
Well, you see, we're quite different from almost anybody else on the planet. Gandhi was doing what he did for Indians in India. No matter what we do, we are doing something in America, but it's not ours. It's sort of like we would do that for the Indians, for the American Indians, because it's theirs. But it's not about us taking it back because it was never ours. It's about it being shared fairly if everybody's going to be over there, more so than Gandhi saying the Indians need to be treated right in India. You know, I think there's a different mindset to that. It's easier for people, the tribes of Zimbabwe, to fight for Zimbabwe than it is easier for Black Americans to fight for America, because it's theirs, as opposed, you know what I'm saying, that the ground, the trees, the leaves, the air, the sun, that's something that is really theirs, and they would have to approach it and fight for it in a different fashion. You know, it would have to have a different impact. It would have to have a different impression. It would have to leave a different impression on them.
Do you draw from spiritual senses in
Oh yeah, to be sure. I don't feel as though I feel as though the spiritual part of people is the third dimension. You know, that people are three-dimensional, that they have a physical self, a mental self, and a spiritual self, and that, like, without doing things that enhance all three of those, you leave yourself short. You become one-dimensional or two-dimensional in a three-dimensional world. So yes, the spirits are definitely inspirational to me.
Is music more satisfying for you spiritually than the other two attributes?
Well, it leaves that impression, but if you can dance to it, if you can think about it and feel good about it, like the best songs that I do affect all three of those.
Do you still perform H2O Gate Blues or Bicentennial Blues? Do you still recite any of those?
Sometimes. In February, we generally go out on lectures, like it's Black History Month, and a lot of black organizations or black schools, black colleges, black community organizations give programs, and they aren't generally either financially or professionally equipped to produce shows with bands and groups and that kind of thing. And then we do lectures and poetry readings and smaller musical performances, and sometimes I get into the older poems. The revolution will not be televised. Yeah. Billy Green is dead.
Jose Campos
Watergate Blues and Jose Campos Torres. It just depends on where we are. We take a bunch of poems and we do some of them. As a rule, that's a part of, like, trying to give people some of the background on where the ideas that we're doing now, which people are generally more familiar with, where those ideas came from and how those ideas and the philosophy has developed and advanced.
What's the biggest audience that you played to as Gil Scott-Heron?
About 250,000 people at the Muse, the closing festival at Muse that they had down in Battery Park. There was a week-long series of concerts that Muse gave at Madison Square Garden, and on Sunday they gave an outdoor concert that was free down in Battery Park. I think the estimated crowd was about 250,000. That's probably about the largest. Next to that, there were well over 100,000, or at least approximately 100,000, for the Martin Luther King rally last summer in Washington, and we played there. And well, those are just about the largest crowds that I remember.
Do you have any plans of going on tour with Stevie again?
You know, Stevie came up on stage a couple of weeks ago when we were in L.A. And he was talking about going out and talking about, you know, like touring. But I don't know how firm his plans are, and I didn't discuss it with him any further. I'm supposed to see him in about a week. I'll find out.
You talking about the whole spiritual being, like how much, like Bob Marley, when you listen to his music, there's a lot of biblical references in his music. And I guess, like my mother, or your mother, or his mother, John's mother, people that are, familiar with the Bible can relate to some of those things that he says. Your music does not necessarily, I've never heard you couldn't deal with like the Bible or the Quran or any sort of...
Well, we did a song once called Western Sunrise. It was written by Bilal.
Yeah.
About on Judgment Day when the sun will rise in the west and sit down in the east. I'm aware of the Bible. I've read it. I read the Quran. No, I rarely use scripture as a basis for song. I feel as though like people who believe in the Bible aren't the people that I'm trying to change.
Blacks or white.
Right, because if they believe in it, if they're living by the Ten Commandments, they're not providing obstacles to me. Yeah. But a lot of people are just Sunday church people. Those people who carry it with them but never read it. Like they might need some inspiration or some information from somewhere else.
Oh, there's one other thing, something I want to ask you about the whole election situation. Like when they talk about, in this, well, there's America and in Canada, they talk about America as if there was Black America and there's white America, which there is, but they never dealt with the Hispanics, how the Native people, what are their feelings on Reagan, and they made it appear that everybody loved Ronald Reagan, as we saw. Reagan, I think, got maybe 10% of the black vote. Have you got any information on like how the Hispanics and the other minorities, so-called minorities in America voted?
I don't even believe he got that 10%.
He did. He did.
No, according to them, I'm saying they count the votes. So they say, I'm saying according to them, Reagan won. But whoever counts the votes wins.
Yeah. It's true. It's still registered voters, as you said in B-Movie. It's still the whole thing about
the only
who's
people
registered.
that voted for Reagan was Ali, Joe Frazier, Patterson, Pearl Bailey, maybe Lionel Hampton, Rosie Greer, I think. They all endorsed him. I don't believe the 10% either. That's the point I was trying to make. But
I believe maybe them 6 or 7 voted for him.
Yeah.
If it was 10, they say, okay, 10%.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the point I'm trying to make is that we, I guess because we have raised so much hell in America, or have been the vanguard in terms of the whole political situation.
And because we are the largest minority, aside from women, who are the majority minority.
But they are saying, what I see being planted now is that in 10 years they're saying that the Hispanics are going to be the largest minority. And that seems to be like you were talking about last night when you were saying, hold on to your dreams, the whole divide and conquer situation. Or have you got any information on how the Hispanics and other folks?
No, I really don't. I haven't seen it broken down in terms of because I'm saying it like, how the hell would you know? You go in the booth, you vote for who you want to vote for, you come out, you say whatever somebody wants to hear. That doesn't mean that that's what you did when you were in there. I don't believe that very many Hispanics or American Indians or Oriental Americans or Black Americans voted for Reagan, period. I would say 90% plus voted for Mondale or somebody else, or didn't go.
That's another point. Do you feel that the way Jesse Jackson was treated by the Democratic Party turned a lot of black people off, that they didn't vote for anyone?
I believe that's true. Yeah. Because based on some of the media slaps at Jesse, there seemed to be a conscious effort to separate him from Mondale for quite a while, and then at the end he's calling everybody, But like throughout the body of his campaign, from the end of the Democratic convention to the election, there was very little visibility given Gary Hart or Jesse Jackson or any of the rest of the people who had made such an impact on the convention itself. You see, what it was, though, is that Mondale started running the day Carter lost. And so he had built up a lot of endorsements before those other people even got in the race. And I think that if everybody had been running from the time he started, that he probably wouldn't have gotten the nomination. But a lot of people had already committed themselves to him when they found out that there were other people who were going to run, who probably would have a broader base of support and a more democratic constituency, meaning in terms of like the whole Democratic Party. So I think that Jesse and Gary Hart and everybody else, as near as I can tell, was treated very shabbily.
You don't think that maybe the Democratic Party was doomed from the hostages that are right off the bat? There was nothing that they could do. I mean, once Carter was something.
Well, hell, you see the reaction. What the hostages was all about was something that happened when Eisenhower was the president.
Yeah.
You see, so if there should have been if there's going to be some backlash, it should have backlashed on him.
But people's hindsight is not that. People's retention power for politics and common people, they don't seem to be able to look that far back, maybe. And maybe the news, maybe it's a problem with journalism too, because people who write and people who present the news to the American people aren't drawing it back that far.
No, they generally tie it to the party line.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like you can't get an interview with Reagan next week unless you say something nice about him this week.
Right.
So I think all that plays a part.
Do you think that Reagan will be more passive in his second term?
I don't believe that Reagan was very aggressive in the first term. Like he worked from 9 to 5 and seemed to nod all the time. I think that his boys is on their job though. I think Bush and them is dangerous, and they're the ones that I think are behind the scenes, are more or less setting things up. The people who inform and misinform Reagan are the most dangerous people in the world.
You've got to wonder how many people who voted for Reagan realize that in fact they're voting for Bush because of Reagan. You know, there's certainly speculation.
I don't think that they know any more about Bush than they do about Reagan. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm saying, like, people always say they wonder what Reagan thinks. I wonder if he thinks. I don't believe that he spends a whole lot of time doing his homework. I think that that's clearly evident when he has to answer something impromptu, when he has to do something spontaneous. He inevitably fucks it up.
I've discovered some researchers throughout the United States that are doing anti-fascist research on basically the grand scheme of things and protesting against the new right in the States and really exposing the small collective of people that are actually running the planet. Now, whether people believe in that or not, it's very hard to sort of introduce people into it. I'm wondering if you've ever heard of Mae Russell or Sherman Skolnick, any of these people?
Yeah, I have heard of them. Well, see, I go by the Center for Research in the Public Interest a great deal to pick up on whatever's going on. Like folks who don't know about the Trilateral Committee don't believe in the Trilateral Committee.
53% of the people voted this time. I think it was 50 the last time. It was the lowest. 49. So he got about 4 more percent. Where do you think that other people that don't vote? Where do you think they're at? Are they hostile to Reagan? Or they indifferent? Or
well, you know, see, I don't think that someone is indifferent who registers. You know what I'm saying? If you register, it means you were a potential vote. You know, I think that perhaps these were people who were not impressed by either. You know, and I think that that's the people who didn't register to vote and the people who did register and didn't vote are by far the vast majority of Americans. You know, they are the people who perhaps saw the nebulous virtues of both candidates and wondered, as I did, why if you got 230 million people, there's only 2 some bitches running. We had more people running for my class presidency than were 500 of us.
Well, they had Angela Davis and Gus Hall and Larry Holmes from the workers' world. I mean, the left, but I guess they don't count in terms of the mainstream.
Well, I think, you know, money talks. And that, like, there are far more people who, with the people who have money, try to spend it where among the candidates who have the best shot of winning. And without that sort of constituency, without that sort of endorsement, without that sort of investment, You don't reach the public eye. You don't make TV commercials or radio commercials or get invited to meet the press or press to meet or whatever the hell. I mean, you just don't have that sort of opportunity. So I think that it gets narrowed down because of the capital involved.
I think there's prospects for a third party in America.
The birthday party looks good.
The National Black Independence Party, or what do you think about that?
I think that what Jesse Jackson had in mind was a third party, more or less, the Rainbow Coalition. He was talking about people who belonged to other parties as well as those who didn't belong to any party at all, people who had been disenfranchised, people who had no influence in the party that they were supporting at the time. He was talking about farmers, he was talking about small business people, he was talking about union people, he was talking about poor people. And in that sense, he was talking about the majority of Americans. But he didn't manage to, see, Jesse started late. When he started, there were only 7 months to go to the convention. And I'm saying when you're running, when you're chasing somebody who's been running for 3 years, and you only got 7 months to do it, and you start with no money, and money, once again, helps to project the candidacy. You're running from a disadvantage. I think that the possibilities for a third party exist because there are enough people to get 2-3 more parties started. Whether or not anyone will ever come up with the capital and the sort of influence that can unite those people or that can sort of focus for them is a question. But that possibility exists because the people exist.
Even Anderson, who ran in '80 with very little as far as principles, managed to garner 7% of the vote at that point in time. And, I mean, whether it was 7, you think?
It was 7% of what it was and 2% of what it was. It was like 2% of the possibilities and 7% of it. It was like 26 for Reagan, 21 for Skippy, and 2 or 3 for Anderson. I mean, based on only 49% voting proportionally. Anderson was, George Wallace got 12% back there when Humphrey was running against Nixon. You know, the difference, in other words, that's what he got.
After the rest of the pie was split up.
Right. So I think that kind of possibility exists simply because those problems exist and those people with those problems exist. Whether or not they can be forged into a united party or whether they can be forged into a party that would exist after the one candidate had initiated it is another question altogether.
I'd like to talk about the band if you could for a minute.
That would be a great idea.
Yeah. Musically, I think that this band is incredibly strong. Robert Gordon is a fantastic bass player.
Yeah, Robert Gordon needs to be caged.
And
seriously.
And Kim is a great synth player for you. Where did she come from?
From D.C. Everybody in the band's from D.C.
Yeah, you worked with Ron and Robert on Black Wax, right?
I worked with Ron and Robert. I've worked with Rob since 1979 and with Holloway since 1981. The other people have been with me about 6 weeks now.
Wow. It's so tight.
What are the names?
So
Steve Walker on drums used to play with Chuck Brown in the Soul Searchers. Kim used to play with Stacey Ladislaw. Greg Gavin played for a while with Osiris. They're all out of D.C. They're all very, very good musicians. It's not really a question of whether people can play, though. When you hire them, you know they can play. The question is whether they can play together. And what we were looking for was people who could play together, who could bring their own style to it and yet blend with other folks. Mm-hmm. And that's the combination that we have now. We're very pleased with it.
Do you want a coffee, Gil?
No, I'm fine.
There was a lack of solos now. I know that a lot of the music, sort of like it's orders on the jazz idiom from time to time. And when you did the encore in the second set, when you did the bottle, there was an extension of solos there. Do you think that you'll allow them that? I mean, I don't think that you're restraining them maybe necessarily.
No, everybody solos on Blue Collar. Everybody used to solo on Johannesburg. People can play. What you're dealing with primarily is impact. You know, like the person who's been with me longest, who's most familiar with the music, is Holloway, and Holloway is a damn good soloist. So I'm saying, you know, no sense in putting it in your pocket. If you got it, flaunt it. And he's well, let me say that he plays a solo instrument. Like, he's the only one who does. Everyone else plays a rhythm instrument. It's a part of the rhythm section. So it just seems natural that he's solo a great deal, because he's soloing even when I'm doing my vocals.
Yeah.
But I don't stop anybody from soloing. I guess it's just a group of songs I was doing last night.
It's an interesting blend now with still retaining the tenor. It holds a jazz tie to it, but Kim's synth lines were often indicative of the new dance funk that is coming out.
Well, they're indicative of her background, and once again, we encourage people to add what they have to it.
Yeah.
But to find a way to blend what they have and what they bring to it. I'm saying, like Kim and Greg and young people, and like Holloway's a little older, got a little bit more experience. Holloway plays with Dizzy. You know, when Dizzy comes down, he called Holloway. He wanted Holloway to play the sax. He probably don't call Greg and Kim, but someone else might. What their background is what interested me in them. The fact that they bring different flavors to it, and that they can not only play well, but they can play with people, and that's important.
You say that you're not necessarily listening to other people's music now. Who did you listen to before?
I listen to music, but I don't listen to the radio that much. I like to buy it and take it home and sit down and examine it, you know, more or less. I don't know. I've been influenced by everybody I've ever heard. Johnny Cash influenced me. You know, as soon as I heard that, I said, I'll never do shit like that. So that was an influence, you know. But individuals interest me. I don't like to listen to 3-4 records and not know who the hell it was saying. People who bring an individual impression to their music, a certain independence, a Billie Holiday, a Jimmy Reed, a Feliciano, a Richie Havens, or John Coltrane. I mean, people that I could, 15 seconds into it, I know who it is, and I'm glad. Those are the kinds of, that's the kind of music that I buy. That's the kind of music that I really feel has the largest impression on me.
Looking for an identifiable voice, be it through a tenor saxophone
or whatever, McCoy Tyner, Wayne Shorter, you know. Like, I know who that is when I hear it, you know, and I like to feel as though not only is someone a master of whatever instrument, but they have their own voice, and the music has its own flavor. That's appealing to me.
But Jimmy Reed sure has his own voice.
I ain't lying, you know.
Big boss man yesterday.
I hear you, Bright Lights, Big City. Gone to my baby's head.
If you're going to do a new album coming up in the next few months, will you go into the studio with this band?
I'll probably use them, yeah. Some of them. I know I use Gordon and Holloway because they go everywhere I go regardless. Even when if I'm just going down to the store, it seems like I turn around Rob's there. So yeah, I'll probably use them.
Great.
I generally take the people into the studio that I'm working with.
What's the status of the Midnight Band? Or this is a mere facade? This is it now?
This is it now. I went through the Midnight Band, then I had the Amnesia Express, and now I got a mere facade. I think that if the band has its own voice, it should have its own name. I could still call this one the Midnight Band.
That philosophy is retained?
Yeah, because I'm still there.
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to incorporate timbales and drums again like you did in the beginning, or is that something in your history now?
I may well, you know, but like, see, I know I hear a lot of music that's doing that now. But that's just like I heard that rap music was the new thing. You know, that doesn't mean I need to go back. So wait a minute, hold it, I got something for that. You know, I'm not really trying to do it because that's what everybody else is doing. As a matter of fact, that's a great, that's something to be held against it. Everybody else is doing. There must be something wrong with it. But I'm saying that like the three horns took the place of the three percussion pieces in the Amnesia Express. Now I'm looking for a little bit of room. I probably will have a percussionist, and hopefully one who will be proficient both on drums and timbales. But not necessarily. You know, like you listen for sounds. I'm saying when I start to lay out the music for the new album, I'll see what I need and then I'll go get it. You know, and that's generally what I do. I see what it is I need. I need that. Okay, you know, like it's if it's conceivable, there's one in DC who plays it. So all you gotta do is go find it. I'm saying like somebody could sit me down on the corner of 14th Street, Rhode Island, for 2 hours, and I come back with a band. That's how many people play in DC, and that's how many people. I mean, you know, because Van McCoy was there, Eric Gravatt was there. Donnie was there, Roberta Flack was there, and I'm saying when those people leave and they leave their bands, I mean it's just hundreds of people there who can play. I'm saying that the question is finding people who can play together and who can sort of like incorporate their own thing into a larger thing.
Have you ever thought about doing things on the line of performance art, even though doing poetry is in a sense a performance art thing, working with the background of a film, even though you've done a film, but performing, reading over top of poetry? Do you know what I mean?
No, but go ahead.
Something that's come up as far as making political statements. People who are outspoken in music in Toronto and in Canada a lot of the times will have something happening in the background, a lot of like a multimedia presentation while performing. Have you ever thought about doing something like that? I mean, in a sense, it's
no,
like
not really. I've always felt as though like if I had enough happening in the foreground, you know, that would cover. I mean, you know, not to say that see, what we do is paint pictures with words. If you do it well enough, then people see things while you're singing. You know, if you don't, then all the dancers and jugglers and shit in the world ain't gonna get them past the point that you can't play or you can't sing.
Something like, say, the Art Ensemble of Chicago, where so much of watching that band is the focus on the individual people and watching their actions and throughout. And Joseph Jarman, every move that man makes is beautiful. It's his music in motion as well as the music that he's making. Have you ever thought about moving in that? During Dust last night, there was a stronger element of performance in that than in the film. So do you think you'll carry on along that line? Or
I don't even know. Competition. We start throwing lines back and forth. I mean, it happens all the time between soloists, you know, and it got more into sounds than notes. It got more into screams than melody. It got more into emotion than technique. I don't remember when it happened, and it's not programmed because some nights I don't do that. You know, some nights, you know, it's just not there. You know, doesn't feel like, you know, it's not that time. So when I go out to play, like, I'm just as surprised as the next person what happens.
125th and Lenox is impossible to get in Canada.
It's impossible to get, period.
Have you thought about publishing more poetry?
Well, we did the Mind of Gil Scott-Heron.
Yeah. Beyond that?
No.
Okay.
I rarely make the same mistake twice.
That was a mistake?
No, I mean, I rarely think about doing something I already did. Yeah. If it comes up, you know, if I see myself at a point where I hadn't published any poetry in a long time, there were a lot of people who were looking for the old book of poetry and couldn't find it. So I decided to do a new book of poetry with the highlights of the previous book plus things that I had done as poems since then that, you know, that people wanted to see. I'm saying people being unable to find a lot of the old poems. So I put the old poems in a new book and added other poems to it and put it out. But I don't know if that'll happen again.
How much of the stuff from the mind of Gil Scott-Heron was in 125th and Lenox and the other books?
About 10 pieces.
10 pieces. And so how much just was left out, just out of curiosity?
Maybe 20 pieces.
20 pieces. Okay.
It's time for us to cut, my friend.
Yeah, I think so. Could I get you possibly to do a station ID for a radio station?
What are the numbers? What's happening?
It's CKLN 88.
All right, this is Gil Scott-Heron, and you're listening to CKLN, non-profit, all business, 88.1 FM in Toronto.